pumped to be here with Billy Wright. He's a stud. He's one of my good friends, someone that I look up to, someone that I respect, and I've worked with, a lot of years along the road of door to door. So I'm pumped to be here. Tier One Podcast. We interview individuals and get to know them as their life, what they went through, and why they decided to be an entrepreneur and dream, and honestly, go for something better than average. So Billy, I'm pumped and grateful you're here, man.
Happy to be here, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bro. So we'll get right into the grit of it, man. Obviously, I know that you're killing the game and doing good things out in Arizona. But I want to get to know you on an individual, more about Billy's life, kind of what you went through to get to where you are today. So I first want to start out, man. As a child, I want to kind of get to know where you're from, where you were born, how your childhood was growing up. Did you have a traditional American childhood, mom and dad, family, and kind of stuff you went through? So I want to kind of just dive into, what your childhood looked like.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like, honestly, I had a pretty easy upbringing. I grew up in Arizona. I spent the first 12 years of my life in Arizona. My family's moved a lot, and my dad's not in the military, so it's kind of funny. But like in my lifetime, when we were all still under the same roof, I think we moved like 18 times. So that is unique. It was all when I was really young were a lot of the moves, right? My parents were just getting started, getting their feet under them. But then one of the big moves was when I was 12, 2007, 2008, whenever we moved to Pennsylvania. My dad took a job out there. So being 12 years old, 13, whatever, in middle school, leaving all your friends, that was rough for me, just to go to Pennsylvania. And Arizona and Pennsylvania are not at all the same. So all the stuff I like to do growing up, like I really like going to the lake, wakeboarding, dirt biking, a lot of outdoor activity stuff. No one really does that out there. So the only thing I had was football. That was the thing that stayed the same. So I did football and baseball, and dropped baseball about halfway through high school and just kept doing football. So yeah, I feel like my upbringing though was pretty standard, dude. My mom and dad have been happily married my whole life. I have 3 sisters. My dad was married before he met my mom, so I have 2 older half sisters and then a younger sister. That teaches you a lot, being surrounded by 3 girls growing up. I always wanted an older brother, so that's why you and I are tight. And all my other buddies, I feel like when I connect with guys that I line up with on a lot of things, then it's just like immediately I have a lot of brothers now. So, but yeah, my dad was in business my whole life. He kind of went from being a football coach to taking on a sales role. Became the VP of sales for UTI, Universal Technical Institute. And then he took a role at that smaller school in Pennsylvania when we went out there just to kind of grow it. And the idea was to flip it. And then in 2008, everything came tumbling down. So right before they sold, it went from like a $30 million valuation down to like $4 million. So just wasn't, ideal. And after that didn't pan out, we kind of moved back home to Arizona. And that was in 2013, like 2012, 2013. I served a 2-year mission for my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, from 13 to 15. And then, I don't know. You want to keep going chronologically, Brad, or what info do you want, just to make sure I'm not going the wrong way?
No, you're good, man. We'll get into the whole life. Okay. Interesting. So obviously, you have a normal child, 0 to 12. You grow up Arizona, you got your friends, you kind of have your identity. Did you? So you moved 18 times. Was 17 times before the age of 12, and then that 18th move was to Pennsylvania?
I think so. Yeah, I got to double check that with my mom, but I'm pretty confident. I think that was like move number 18. So since then, I still moved a bunch. So that's
No, that's crazy, man, because I think a lack of stability, right, of just like never knowing, like, man, am I, is this where I'm going to be? But luckily, I mean, being young, you don't really probably remember a ton of it. But at 12 years old, the move to Pennsylvania, obviously it had to have been a culture shock. You go from hot Arizona to Pennsylvania. I've never even been to Pennsylvania. So, I could just imagine the move, and let alone being 12 years old. When you're 12 or 13 years old, man, you're going into middle school, you got your buddies. I want to dive in and talk about how that really had an effect to you. Did it generate hatred towards your parents? Were you mad at first? Like, what were your feelings as a 12 to 13-year-old kid when you had to up and leave to a totally, I mean, foreign place?
Totally. That's so funny. It was hard for me, dude. I thought for sure, as a middle school kid, I was in like seventh grade. I thought all my friends were going to stop being my friends, right? Like that was my biggest thing is I had like 3 or 4 really good buddies that I hung out with all day, every day. And I just remember, like the night I found out we were moving, I was at my grandparents' house because my dad was with my mom, closing the deal, whatever. And I was just crying because I was like, Tyler Hatch is not going to want to be my friend anymore because I'm never coming back, dude. Now I don't have any friends. And looking back now, it's just comical, right? Because I feel like the reason why now I have a lot of connections and a pretty big network is just because I've lived a bunch of different places and connected with a bunch of different people and been in different positions. So that move, I attribute my ability to like be put in a position that's like foreign to me. I don't know anybody. I don't know where I'm at, whatever. I mean, that's not new to you too, Brad. Same thing, like new market, new everything. Every summer that you've done since you're 16, I feel like that ability in me became strong because of that move. Because I just was uprooted from everything that was comfortable to Pennsylvania where I knew nobody and had to start all over again and make friends in seventh grade. So I understand that that's like not a unique experience for sure. And it's not like the hardest thing in the world either, but for sure that added value to my life. It could have been something where it was like, no, I didn't hate my parents, to answer your question. I definitely wanted to be home sometimes, definitely want to hang out with my friends, but like, I think it made all of us better. So
Yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting, man, about your response is I feel like a lot of successful people, the majority of people that I've interviewed, we all have an outlook that's very unique because I asked you a question about how that affected you. And you're like, yeah, man, it was really hard. It did, mess me up as a 12-year-old kid. But I'm blessed. It's giving me this. It's giving me this. I've affected this way, which successful mindsets think like that, right? We don't have a victimhood mentality. You literally, I just asked you about the negativity and you talked maybe about 8 seconds about how it was negatively impacted you and then went on for 2 minutes about how it's shaped you into who you are. And I think
totally.
that's the lens of successful people is to have a positive fortitude, understanding like, hey man, I've gone through hard things and it's only a blessing, and having that positive outlook because no matter how big of a business you start and how big you go, business is tough. You know what I say? Like it's tough to grow a business, to take the risk of doing it, but having that positive outlook, like, yo, I'm gonna succeed, I'm gonna make it through, and because of all the experiences I've gone through in my life, I can achieve all things.
Totally. Yeah, that's key, dude. I feel like I've it's funny you say that because I had a conversation with my wife about this just a couple of days ago about just trying to be more positive about everything because being negative serves you zero. It does nothing for you. You can be mad for a second if something doesn't go right. I'm not saying you're not human or whatever, and I'm definitely not saying I'm perfect at this yet, but I like that you touched on that. Thank you. Cause I'm trying just to focus on the controllables, obviously, and then just being happy right now. Cause if you don't choose to be happy, you're never going to be happy. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. Now going into your life, you moved there to Pennsylvania, you're 12, 13 years old. And did you move back
Yeah.
senior year or were you already graduated when you moved back to Arizona?
Yes, this is funny because I moved back halfway through my senior year. So people think, like, every time I tell them that, they think that was the hardest part, right? Is coming back, splitting up my senior year, which to me, it was like the coolest part because I still came home every summer and hung out with all my homies that I grew up with. So all my buddies and my family and everybody, we'd come home for probably like 3, 4 weeks in the summer. And I would come work for my uncle for a little bit, hang out, right? So I got to finish my football season with all my Pennsylvania friends. And I had the opportunity to come home beginning of senior year, and I didn't take it because I didn't feel like it was fair to my team. And I wasn't about to let down my guys that I had worked with for, 5 years to become a team just to skip town and come, play my senior year with my cousin and my friends. That doesn't make any sense. And those guys are my brothers too, like I said, so I'm not going to leave them out to dry. So we finished our senior season. That was like a really good closing the book for me in Pennsylvania. Left on good terms, came home, and honestly, I was in Arizona for like 3.5 months or whatever to finish my senior year. I went to like 3 classes. I hung out with all my buddies, and it was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's sweet, man. So you graduated, and then how soon after graduation did you serve your 2 year mission?
I waited a little bit before I went out. I believe I left in August, I think, of 13. So I
Okay.
graduated in May, left in end of July or August, something like that.
Okay, sweet, man. Now your mission that you serve for, obviously for your church, it's a 2 year mission. You go out and preach, teach people about Jesus Christ, serve. Where did you go in the world?
So I went to Santa Rosa, California. It's not San Diego. That's what I thought it was. When I read it, I was stoked. It's Northern California, like just north of the Bay. So on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge, all the way up to Oregon was kind of my zone. But I was Spanish speaking, so I went to Mexico for 6 weeks to start, and then came back to California, and then I was in Northern California for 2 years.
Okay. Now in this 2 year mission, obviously going stateside, you became fluent in Spanish. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I try my best. It's funny because we had landscapers here over the weekend laying pavers, and it's like taxing for me now to have conversation in Spanish. I have to think a whole lot more, but I can still do it. My understanding is still 100. I would say my speech has dropped to maybe like 85, 90. I need to use it a little bit more.
Yeah. No, that's sick, man. In a skill, put religion aside, put anything aside, having that bilingual skill is I mean, I would say like you can't buy that. You know what I'm saying? That's like a price, like,
Totally.
dude, that just gives you a bonus in anything you need, and it gives you an advantage. And it's like, man, one thing that I wish I could speak Spanish. I'm half Mexican, and I'm like, yo, I don't I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but no, that's sick, man. Now, talk to me about your 2 year mission. I want to talk about, because obviously, you go away for 2 years, you don't see your family. I want to talk about the struggles and the things that you went through, and really the life lessons that you learned that you would attribute just to your mission.
Totally. The beginning of my mission was hard for me, and I feel like I did hard things growing up. For a kid, like, if you were to compare to having to go through hard things or whatever, like challenge yourself, right? But with like sports, I did two-a-days, I did wrestling, I did all the stuff that was hard, right? And then the spiritual emotional side of things is a totally different ball game. You can't just like tough it out and run wind sprints to like do the inner work for yourself, right? You have to like sit with yourself and really like decide. So there was two components to that. I feel like myself, I was working on my own self-confidence still. I was 18 and not really sure who I wanted to be or who I was. And then the second part was I was trying to figure out if I really believed what I was selling or preaching. You know what I mean? Um, and I had some personal struggles going out because I had to wait, like I said, to go out. You have to be worthy to go on a mission. You have to prepare yourself. And part of that process was I had to wait 6 months to be able to go. And that got in my head for like the first 3, 4, I would say probably, yeah, almost 6 months of my mission, because I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't good enough. There was all these kids that were like just super good people in my eyes that I feel like did everything they were supposed to do their whole life, followed all the rules. They were learning Spanish a lot faster than I was. And that's kind of how I felt. I was like, oh, something's not clicking here. Like maybe I'm not really supposed to be out here doing this or whatever. And transparently, self-doubt has been something that I've struggled with my whole life. Like, it doesn't matter how cool Brad thinks I am or what the leaderboard says on the sales board, whatever. There's always this little voice in the back of my head that's like telling me what I can and can't do. And I've really had to like push back at that, especially now. Like I've noticed even more. But on my mission is where I first really started like addressing that. Like, hold up, I need to decide, like, can I actually do this? Do I actually believe this? And what am I going to do about it? So yeah, the first 6 months of my mission were tough. And then I feel like after that, I kind of got my feet under me and felt like I knew what I was doing. And, yeah, it was the best thing I've ever done for my life. I feel like my life would be in a totally different place if I didn't go on a mission. And, I attribute most of my success in life to that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. It's interesting that you bring that up, about self doubt, and because for me, I've always been a confident person.
Yeah.
Some people say I'm conceited, cocky, whatever it may be, but I really attribute, kind of looking back in my life, the reason I have that overconfidence is to basically show, like to cover up my insecurities. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and being able to do that, like where I'm like, hey, I'm the fucking man. I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna prove everybody wrong, and being able to do that has led me to succeeding. But you're right, man. I mean, still, when you're by yourself at at night, or alone, and you're like, dude, am I good enough? Am I worthy? Um, can I do this? Should I do this? That that talk is real, and the
Totally.
majority of people subside to that. You know what I'm saying? They give in, and they're like, I'm not good enough, and they end up quitting and throwing in the towel. And dude, I admire, man, because being able to accomplish things, right? You started out playing sports. Sports are tough, man. Two a day. Dude, growing up, I saw kids quit all the freaking time. You know what I'm saying? And my dad told me, you don't freaking quit. If you're gonna
Right.
start something, you're gonna finish it. And same thing goes to my mission, bro. I served a 2-year mission too, and just being able to have that start and being able to say that, hey, I finished, is something that psychologically that teaches you to start winning. I'm starting
Right.
to gain that momentum, because do you know who Tim Grover is?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you read his
Man,
new book, Winning?
I haven't run winning yet. Nope. I need to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fire, bro. It's good, dude. And that whole book was phenomenal. But basically, like being able to win and what it takes to win, and some winning is always something you're chasing, because once you get that win, you hold on to it for a little bit, but then it's like boom. Next day you got to wake up and you got to go get those wins again. You know what I'm saying? You got to
Right.
always be chasing that, to the top. So now let's talk about your life after the mission. You come home, and obviously I met you doing door to door sales, but let's talk about your journey when you came home. What was it like? What did you start doing? And eventually, what led you into obviously getting into pest control and sales?
Okay. Yeah, I came home at same time around August. I think I came home like a little bit earlier, so maybe end of July again, whatever. And I went right to school. So I worked for my uncle again. I grew up doing electrical contracting. I worked for him for a little bit until I went up to UVU that fall. So fall of 15. And my goal at that point was to get into BYU. I never really wanted to go. But then on my mission, I felt like for some reason, right at the end, when everybody was applying and getting in, I'm like, oh, now I want to go. But I didn't do jack in high school. I had a terrible GPA. I had nothing to show for it. And it's like, there's no way I'm getting into BYU. So I had a connection. My mission president was friends, luckily, with the director of admissions at BYU. So I went and made kind of like a backdoor deal with him. Honestly, I had no business being at BYU. And he said, the only reason I'm taking this meeting is because Renee asked me to. So he's like, tell me why you should be here. And I said, well, I'm not the 15-year-old idiot that I was in high school, and I want to be here. So tell me what it takes. So he said, if you go to UVU for a semester, and I believe the criteria was, and take 15 credits and bring me back a 3.8 or higher, I'll get you in. So for those that haven't gone to college, it's pretty much A's and an A minus, I think, to get a 3.8. I'm not really good at calculating all that stuff. But all I knew was I'm going to go and get A's and like get in. So UVU is not the hardest school in the world. And if you put in work, it's not that hard to get A's either. So I just busted my butt that first semester. I really didn't do anything other than school and work. And I was working at a call center. So I was hating life. And yeah, that helped me get in. So I got 3.95 or whatever it was, got into BYU. And then once I was into BYU, I've always hated school. Like I said, I've had a bad GPA in high school. I was just like, Mr. What do I got to do the bare minimum and get by, and then go do anything besides homework? So that didn't change much for me in college. I just felt like I should be at BYU for some reason. And so I was trying to go the business route. I wanted to go to the entrepreneurship program in the Marriott School of Business. My accounting class did me in. My stats class did me in. There's no way I was getting into the business school. I tried a couple times and no good. So after 2 applications to the business school and not making it because of my accounting, I think I got like a C in accounting or B, whatever. Can't do that. I just pivoted because I was like, okay, what's the quickest way out of school? Because I know I don't want to do school, and I know I don't want to go work for somebody, but I don't know what I want to do yet. So I'm like, how do I get out of school just so I can get a degree and not waste my money or my dad's money, really, because my dad paid for my schooling. And so I went sociology with a minor in Spanish. And then around that time is when I got into sales, to answer your question. So I think it was 2018. A bunch of my buddies had gone out the summer before and made like 30, 40 grand in a summer. And to me at that time, that was like insane to make 40 grand. You're making like an annual salary in 3-4 months and then coming back to school. And these dudes are like high on the horse. They're buying new cars. They're like not working. They're kind of doing school. And looking back now, it's hilarious, right? Because these guys are balling out like they're making real money and they're making 40 grand. It's like whatever. But yeah, I met with Colton at EcoShield, sat down. He was a really cool guy. I met with 3 or 4 companies. He was the only dude that shot me straight. And he was like, hey, this is what it is. This is what I'll give you. And he's like, what's it going to take? And I told him, I said, I can go home and work for my uncle. And I know I can make 20 grand if I work a summer. So if I can't make at least, 10 grand more than that, it's not worth my time. I'll just go do that because I'm rolling the dice. And so I ended up doing it. I went to San Diego. It's where we met. And my rookie year was a good experience. I feel like it challenged me, and sales, door-to-door sales specifically, in my opinion, is the hardest form of sales. So if you can do that, you can do any kind of sales. And so I just saw a lot of value in it and stuck with it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's interesting, dude. Door to door is a different beast. It's a different game, especially something that's going to target your mindset. Because man, there's been days that are brutal. You know what I'm saying? Of taking that. So now let's go into college. Did you end up getting your degree at BYU and end up finishing school?
I did. I didn't really want to. I was far enough along where I was just like, forget it. I'm going to do it just to satisfy my dad, because my dad was like, hey, I'll pay for it if you get a degree. So I graduated in sociology with a minor in Spanish in 2020, and I'm never going back. But I get to tell everybody that I didn't graduate because that was the COVID year. So I never actually went to graduation. I just have the certificate. So I went to college, but I never graduated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's funny. I dropped out after I think like 1 semester. I was like, or maybe 2 semesters. I went to the University of Utah, bro, and I was sitting in my dinosaur class, which is by far my favorite class I took. It was for my science credit, right? I needed like a geology credit or something, so I'm like, I'll just take my dinosaurs. So I'm sitting in class, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, bro? Like, I want to make money, dude. I want to make money and be successful. And college is telling me that I gotta go to a freaking dinosaur class. So
absolutely,
I finished that semester, and yeah, I was like stopped going, and I was like, dude, this sucks. And so I dropped out, man, and went obviously the sales routes, which is funny, dude. So I wanna dive into your path to where you are today. This is the nitty gritty, which I'm excited for. Cool. So you sold at EcoShield in San Diego. Obviously, I know because I was there with the pattern. But let's talk about kind of what went next. So you sold your first rookie year. What kind of happened till obviously to where we are today?
Okay, so I sold with Eco. I did like 125 accounts, did like just around 100,000 in revenue my first summer, which for a rookie is okay. Like it's pretty good. It's not, outstanding or anything, but I knew that I could do a little better. So I was full force coming back to San Diego because I loved San Diego, and I was stoked to come back and surf and sell more and whatever. And then those guys that own that office ended up selling it and moving to Nashville. So they talked to me in the off season, which, season is May to August for most door knocking guys. So in like January, they're like, hey, we're going to go to Nashville. And I was like, oh, heck no, Nashville. And I had the option to go or just bail. And I ended up sticking with them because they're good dudes, and they thought it was a good idea and it sounded pretty good to me. Anyways, started a whole brand new office from the ground up with those guys. And obviously I didn't do all the managerial stuff or whatever. I was just a sales rep, but saw everything start from the ground up and kind of how that process went from 0 accounts to, 4,000 or 5,000 accounts that they're at now. And I did pretty well my second summer and ended up coming back. Long story short, that's where I think the gear started turning for me, where I was like, I want to do this long term. I think I see the money in this. I see the stability in this. I feel like this is a good model. And so my original plan was to partner in with the Nashville guys and my buddies. And in order to do that, you have to bring out 1.5 million in revenue with your team. So I got close, maybe once, and then my year that I thought I was going to do it, I had 15 guys signed. We were good to go. And that number just dwindled down to, I think I finished with 2 or 3 guys and not even close to the 1.5 mark. So, I still wanted to do something on my own. And I feel like after weighing all my other options for like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do whatever. I'm like, I already know how to sell. I've been doing this for the last 5 years. I have a good grip on service. If I can't partner in with these guys, why don't I just go do it on my own? And so that's how we got where we are.
Yeah, man. And honestly, bro, that's the best thing that could have happened to you.
For sure.
I mean, honestly, bro, just being because we're actual owners. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I own a company. We're not glorified sales managers that have equity in a branch. There's a huge difference. Right. You know what I'm saying? Totally. You know what your exact expenses are. You know what it costs to run a business. I know what it costs to run a business, to pay insurance, to pay the truck insurance, to understand like, damn, like a business is a lot more than just having equity in a branch, which is sick. So now you decided you're like, all right, dude, let me start my own business. When did you make that decision? Kind of when was that timeline? You're like, dude, let's just start my own.
When Tay and I got married, I was really upfront with her on like, I'm doing my own thing. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm doing my own thing. I'm not working for somebody. And most girlfriends' wives would be kind of scared by that, I think. But she was like full faith in me, and she's like, okay, sounds good, but figure it out, kind of, right? Like what are we gonna do? So yeah, as we talked about it, I think we decided fall of 21 that we were going to do it. We're going to do our own pest control company. And we were trying to decide between Utah and Arizona because we were living in Utah at the time. And being honest, our family's in Arizona and we wanted to be back here. All of our friends are in Utah. So we were kind of 50-50. We're like, do we stay here with friends? Do we knock in the door-to-door capital of the world? Or do we go home to Arizona, super saturated market where our family is? So I'm like, whatever, we're going to Arizona. So we made the decision and then came home March of 22, started in May of 22. I had to get all my licensing and stuff figured out. I was kind of in limbo for a couple months, and then May 16th, we started on 2022. So
yeah, that's sick, man. So take me through the process, because you and I have similar experiences, bro. Like we created our name, we created our logo, we got licensing. Like literally, it's sick because like our businesses are ours. We created it, you know. So
right.
So talk me through your name of Zona Pest Solutions, kind of what went into it, kind of the logo. Like, was it pretty quick? Did it take time? Who designed it? You know, kind of take me through just the basic starting of starting the name.
I don't think I've told you about this, so you're going to like this story. This is good. So
yeah,
we were looking at a couple names, and Wright Way Pest Solutions, my last name's Wright, so Wright Way WR was kind of on the table. There were a couple other names that honestly I can't even think of right now that were in the running, and I didn't like any of them. And all I could think of with Right Way is the first time my technician messes up or someone's mad or whatever, that 1-star review is going to be like Right Way, more like Wrong Way. So I was like, nah, I'm queuing myself up there. I'm not doing that. But Brad and I both like Arizona Zervas. He's an artist, and no joke, I was listening to him rolling in my truck, and I was like, Arizona, why don't I just chop it off and go Zona? Like, because I want it to be local. I want it to be like sleek, and we're going to stay here in Arizona. I don't want to be a national brand. So, yeah, I was just like Zona, and I ran it by Tay, and Tay was like, I don't really know, you know, and then the more it sat, yeah, we went for it. So, yeah, we like it. I feel like it's easy to remember. So that's how we landed on Zona Pest Solutions.
Yeah, that's sick, man. Now take me through the logo. Who did the logo? How'd you come up with it?
My buddy Truman Halliday, if you guys, this little plug for Truman, if you guys ever need creative content or anything, branding, he's the man. He used to work for Nike right out of college, and he's had a couple other gigs since then. But the dude is one of those creatives where he just like, it's insane. He pulls, nothing together and makes it into something awesome. And him and Taylor really worked hand in hand. So I give those two the credit, but they went through a bunch of different renditions on figuring out the bug and how it's like, so this is kind of like a house, right? The head is kind of like a house, and then it's supposed to be like sheltered and safe. It's guarding the saguaro, but Dude, it came out really clean, and the process was super cool to watch with him. His whole thing, he like interviews you ahead of time on, okay, what do you want the brand to stand for? What do you want people to, you know, think of when they see, hear, whatever? Takes you from start to finish, and it was awesome. So we're stoked on it. We love it.
Yeah, no, it's clean, man. It's fire. It's simple, bro. That's the thing with us, like understanding like we're not a pest control company. We're building that brand. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
like our brand's tier one. Like everybody, it's easy to remember. People see it, and it's short and sweet. You know, like Zona. It's like, oh, Arizona. You know what I'm saying? And kind of
Yeah.
you get that feel and keep it like that. No, that's sick, man. So now, kind of going in with that, let's talk about you opening your business. Obviously, let's talk about the year prepping up to it. Did doubt creep in? Did you kind of get lazy? We're like, I don't know if I should, should do this, and kind of take me up to, from the day you decided you're going to the day you opened up. Kind of take me through that 1 year journey.
Yeah. So Taylor and I knew that we wanted to start and not take on a bunch of debt, just because I'm a pretty low risk guy. I have a low risk tolerance, being honest. I can roll the dice, but I want to control all the variables as much as I can. So knowing that about myself, we tried our best to save money. And we didn't save a ton, but we saved what we could. So we started with probably 70,000 saved up. And yeah, that whole 8-month period between deciding to do it and starting to do it definitely had doubts. I was going back and forth on like, are the numbers what I think they are? Are the margins what I think they are? Like, am I really going to be able to sell the amount that I think I am? Do I need to get a technician? Am I going to do it on my own? And yeah, a lot of back and forth, but I just knew that I wanted to start small and kind of grow and control from there. And for the first 500 accounts, I wanted to just kind of keep it tight and build a base and be super high quality and just kind of build referrals off of that. And that's kind of what we've done. So we started from zero and just built slow. We have one technician now. I started with my cousin doing my starts for me when I was selling the first summer. And to be honest, I got my teeth kicked in for the first few months in Arizona. It's a pretty saturated market, door knocking year round here. And it was a wake up call for me. So I didn't really even need my cousin. I could have teched all my own stops and been fine and saved myself 16 grand, but that was a learning curve for sure. So after the first 4 months, I ended up teching and servicing and selling and doing it all on my own to save a dime. And in retrospect, I think I probably would have kept a technician just so I could keep selling. I think it set me back just a hair, but yeah, we have another guy now. So it's me and my guy Ty, and we're managing, we're about 300 accounts and just growing. So that's us right now.
Yeah, no, that's sick, man. Because I really like that, dude. Because, like I say, man, you realized what your personality type is, right? Being honest, like, hey,
Totally.
man, I don't want to go in and take a huge, crazy risk, but I know that I want to still open my own business and be a business owner and go through that path. Which I feel like there's a lot of people like that, but they still just won't take that risk of starting
Right.
a business, because no matter what it is, man, whether you're super risk adherent or you're like, dude, I don't do risk at all, there is still risk opening a business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No matter how much
Totally.
no matter how much numbers you run, no matter how much planning you do, you still have to understand, like, okay, there's risk, and I still got to be able to maneuver and change ways when needed. So I want to talk about why you made that decision to open your business, because there's so many people out there that have a skill and an ability, and even just to start small and to grow, but they won't make that decision. So I want to, ultimately dive into the why. Why did you start, and like really push you over the top of, okay, I don't like tons of risk, but I'm still willing to go in to start that business.
Yeah, it wasn't the first business I've started. When I was 10, I was doing shoe shining for my for people in my ward, like my group in church. All the rich dudes in my ward had shoes, dude, lots of them. So they're lawyers and doctors and whatever, and they would drop off trash bags at my house. I'd shine all their shoes for $2.50 a pair, and then return them to them like middle of the week. And a couple of those dudes just loved the hustle because I was 10, and I'd get like $100 tips. So their order was probably $70 for me to shine their shoes, and then he gave me $100 bill on top of that. So that was business one. Business two, I was like 13. Like I said, I started doing yards, lawn mowing. Obviously, she's like, what can you do that's like low overhead and not that big of a deal. And I'm already doing it anyways, right? I mow my own freaking yard, not that big a deal. And then we did car detailing, and my buddy and I, Nick Barley, built that up. His dad helped us get like a pretty good account where we had some residual coming in. And then he and I kind of dissolved that as I moved home. So I've always wanted to do my own thing. I've known that for a long time. I'm not wired to work for somebody. Like sitting at this desk right now, this is not my job. This is my wife's job. I can't do this. This is not me. I want to be in front of people doing, different stuff. But I just always knew like I want to do my own thing because of the opportunity, because there's no ceiling, and because I feel like it is just who I am as a person. So I'm cool to do whatever as long as I'm holding the reins to some extent, right? So, yeah, and the risk thing is really just I didn't want to be, putting my brand new wife in a position that she didn't need to be in. Is all I was trying to say with risk. I'm not afraid of taking a risk. I don't care. I'll roll the dice on myself every time. That's fine because I know I'll figure it out. Something that I've learned in this self-doubt thing that we were talking about earlier is I'm relentless. And that's one of my affirmations I always tell myself. I might not be the best right off the bat. I might not even be elite when compared to others that have sold for, as long as I have. I got buddies, you specifically, Brad slings deals. That's fine. But over a long enough time horizon, I can catch Brad because I'm relentless. So I will never stop. I do not quit. And that helps me a ton. So the risk doesn't really scare me as much because I know if I stick at it long enough, I can't lose. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's that self-belief, man, which I love because you can really feel the passion and the energy. Like, dude, that's what I love to see, man. Because, dude, honestly, like seeing you, bro, there'd be a lot of days that you're doubting, and I was like, dude, don't doubt your ability. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can slang, and like seeing that self-belief is fire because, bro, like you started a business, you're running a business, you're growing a business. It doesn't matter how big or how small, like you're doing things that the majority of people would never fucking do. So, number one, I want to congratulate you, but two, keep fucking going, bro. Like that's what it's about because like no one can stop us. You know what I'm saying? If you're willing to put in the work, put in the sacrifice, and grind, you're gonna come out on top, and you're gonna win.
Totally.
So
Thanks,
sick.
Man.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm pumped, dude. I always love calling you, bro. I always love calling and checking in, and it's
Absolutely.
good. But dude, I want to go into more of your business model, kind of what sets you apart because you're in a saturated market, right? I'm in a saturated market. Like Florida has over 9,100 pest control companies in the state of Florida. So I love talking to people. They're like, "Oh, pest control, it's such a great idea. There's a lot of bugs in Florida." I'm like, "Yeah, it is a great idea that 9,100 people started a pest control business." You know, so
Right.
so I want to get into kind of your business model that obviously you're going up against the odds, you're going into a saturated market, kind of what sets you apart at Zona Pest Control, kind of your idea on growth, and your idea that allows you to kind of get an edge on being successful over competitors.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, my growth model long term is to get to 5,000-6,000 accounts and maintain. Be more of like truly everybody says premium, right? But like a boutique style pest control, if that was the thing, right? I focus in really affluent areas of our market. So Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, that's kind of our bread and butter. And so some of these houses are, 7, 10, 12, 14,000 square feet. And those people, when you get to that level, all they care about is they really want to trust you. That's it. They want to trust that you're going to take care of their needs, and then they don't have to think about it again. Because most of these dudes run Fortune 500 companies or have their own, multi-million-dollar companies. They don't have time to worry about me doing my job correctly or my guys doing a good job. But also on the flip side of that, when you get in with these kind of higher level people, they will not cancel on you. They ever. Like, unless you give them a reason to, they're not going anywhere. Where in smaller neighborhoods, I feel like, or beginner homes like my neighborhood, there's a lot more turnover because it's like, who can do it the cheapest, who can do it better, whatever. This guy promised me the world. It's like, I just didn't even want to deal with that after 5 years of selling. I feel like that's where all my attrition came from, was in those neighborhoods where they're constantly knocked. It's just the best deal, whatever. So I threw all that out the window. I charge almost double what other people do in Arizona. And even some of my friends in the market think I'm crazy for it. But you and I both know, like, That's the separator. That's one of the things. Cause it's like, if someone comes by and says, I'll do it for nothing, right? That doesn't build any trust other than like, oh, I'm just trying to get your business for anything. I'll do it as cheap as possible. Like, okay, but are you good at what you do? Like, are you going to have to cut corners to do that? Are you spraying water on my house? Like, what are we using, right? So one thing is we charge a premium rate. The second thing is we care. Like, we're really attentive to details and stuff that people care about. And it sounds so funny, and I say it all the time, but being good in the service industry is not that hard, but not a lot of people do it. So you take out 95% of your competition, Brad, with your 9,100 companies in Tampa, you're probably only competing with, let's say, 50. Because I bet you only 50 out of the 9,100 actually complete and fulfill on all the things that they say. And so really it's you and 49 others that you're going up against, because the rest of them, irrelevant, because they don't follow through on their promises. They give a bad service, that they're not, built for long term, right? If they're not charging enough in 5 years, they're going to have to raise rates on people high, and people hate that. So there's a whole lot of things that go into it, but I would say I've tried really hard to condense this. We do a premium service, and it's not just like premium running your mouth. Like, we try to do everything we can to be premium. We care way more than everybody else. I don't give a crap what it takes. I want to make sure that I fulfill all my promises to Brad. And then 3 would be just the customer experience overall. Try to make sure that the communication is just like through the roof. Like, obviously we tell people a week ahead of time before we come, the day before, all that standard stuff. But we do other stuff that other companies haven't like really started thinking about, even for the customer experience, like sending little videos at the end to check in, like, hey, Brad, this is what I saw. I noticed you're getting a little more spiders over here in this area of the yard, so I hit that really well for you. I just want to let you know, and keep me posted if you need anything before next service. Have a good week. So you get that video to your phone, right? And you're like, oh, dang, you never see me, but at least you know exactly what's going on when I'm at your house. So I have people in Paradise Valley and Scottsdale that give me their house keys. I have like 13 sets in my truck that we just go service. Like, they're never home. We do the whole deal, but it's just because of trust. And I feel like if you had 5,000 to 6,000 customers that absolutely trust you to do a good job, you can build a really good business off of that. And that's kind of my model.
Yeah, dude, I absolutely love that, man. And building relationships is so important.
Totally.
Dude, it's fire. So we sponsor this group called Tampa Entrepreneurs Group. Young
Cool.
entrepreneurs, a lot of people. And so they've had 4 events. We've sponsored every single one of their events, right? This last event was massive. It was at an airplane hangar. Dude, like 800 people showed up. They had the red carpet come in, all the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, the McLarens, the Rolls Royce, everything right there, all the tables. We sponsored it, man, and like it was fire to meet. But everybody sees us, and it's like people came in like, oh, bro, I've seen your guys' trucks everywhere. Yo, it's good to see you guys again. And like, people understood who we are, and they're like, damn, like these guys are legit. Like, they're good looking, they're in shape, their logo's fire, the way they communicate and talk. Like, dude, people come up and be like, dude, I've never seen a pest control company like this. You know what I'm saying? Because people have that stigma of pest control being a fat old dude coming in, spraying a little pump, and they're gone. You know, like that's kind of
Right.
like what people see. But being able to etch yourself in, man, of quality, that we're the best, we care, we take our time. Man, I love what you said, bro, because to be honest, when people say, oh, who's your biggest competitor? We look at them and say, no one. No one compares to us. No, we don't compare ourselves to any other company, because every other company sucks. And I mean, being real, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's very few people that are going to actually do that. So, dude, I love that, man. Like I said, bro, I'm proud of you, dude, and that's fire. So now I want to talk about, you want to traject it to 5,000 accounts and keep that momentum. Now, obviously, you built it 0. You got your 300 accounts. What's your kind of plan to help facilitate? Obviously, you're working on referrals, but what's kind of your plan to facilitate that you're always growing? Because in business, if you're not always growing, you're going to be losing. Yeah. So kind of walk through me that plan, man. I'm kind of intrigued to understand kind of what your trajectory and your plan is.
Yeah, I was getting this dialed in, the last couple of weeks. So finally, I have a technician I can count on. That's awesome. He's my right-hand guy, and he's totally on board with taking over all service stuff. He's like, dude, just let me do it. I can do it. I can handle all of it. Throw it on me. Like 12-hour days, I don't care. Just give it to me. So he's a stud. And now that I have someone I can count on and trust, my goal is just to push myself to just knock as hard as I can and get to 500 as quickly as possible. So 500 accounts or 350K in revenue, I feel like is a healthy number to be at, where I can cover my butt and cover my expenses and then have money to just dump and grow the business. And that money will be put in a door-to-door team. So January 1, my plan is to have 5 guys that I can count on that have experience, because I'm not in the mood to babysit. With rookies, it's tough, and it's totally good if you can get a rookie that's on board and wants to stay with you long term. It's just a whole lot of time investment that I don't have right now, because I don't have the luxury of having a bunch of other employees. I still wear a ton of hats. So I want to get 5 guys that have had some experience, that need a little fine tuning, whatever, and then just let them hit the road and go starting in January, because then I'll be able to self-fund their paychecks. So I don't need a ton of money to live on right now. And that's the not so glamorous thing that no one talks about in business. Everybody thinks you start a business and now you go buy your Ferrari or your Rolls Royce that you were sponsoring at that event or whatever. It's like, sure, you could, right? Like to some degree, like as soon as I hit $1 million in revenue, I could live a pretty lavish lifestyle that people want to live, right? But I don't want to do that. I want to build something that pays me indefinitely, because the business is strong and doing well. And the way that you do that is you don't really pay yourself a lot to start. Like I pay enough to cover my mortgage, to cover my fuel, and to cover my groceries, and I don't buy crap. That's it right now. Like that's my life. And so it's definitely not glamorous sometimes, but I don't care. And you're the same way. I know you called me a couple months ago and you're like sleeping in your office, cooking off a little like stove, right? And
Yeah.
and that works for you, and that's what it takes to get where you want to be, and for that reason you are where you are, and just most people aren't willing to do that. But yeah, I don't know why. I love that. When I think about it, I'm like, no one's willing to do this. I don't care.
No.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, it's the
So
mindset of a winner. The funny thing is, bro, you're like episode 11 or 12, and no one on the episodes, because I have quite a few people that watch. Dude, no one really knows that I lived in my office and ate off a hot plate, bro.
they don't know you like I know you, dude. I should have been episode 1.
Yeah. So, but no, man, you're 100% right. You pay yourself last, and as far as you want to grow, you got to pay yourself last, and that's how we've grown very fast. Like when people see our numbers, they're like, dude, like, damn, you guys are growing big and bringing in a lot of money. I'm like, we're spending even more money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's like, yeah, it's cool, but people don't understand that, the sacrifice and the hustle and the grind. But yeah, dude, it's so important, man, to be able to say, you know what, dude, I don't need to pay myself, and I'm not going to pay myself, and I'm going to go through the grind, because dude, the road to the top is lonely. It's hard. It's tough. But if you're willing to actually sacrifice that, you'll come out on the other side and be where you actually want to be, finishing up, man, we got about 10 minutes going into this. I want to talk about kind of your advice, kind of things you've learned really in the business, right? About yourself, about the business, about it. So that way, this whole podcast is to inspire others. That's all I want, man. I want to inspire others to take risks and gamble on themselves, to be a better person, to be a better individual, and know that no matter what you've gone through, you can come out on the other side and accomplish anything. So I want to talk about, if I was to ask you a question, man, what is the biggest thing that you've learned about business and yourself in this journey so far? What's it been?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I wish I had something specific, I guess. But the first thing that comes to mind, I feel like, is, and this is not the first time I'm saying this, right? I've heard it a million times, and so have you, but no one's coming to save you, and no one cares. So, and I don't mean that to be negative. It's just reality. So some days when you wake up, and I wake up often, where it's like, dude, I do not want to knock today. I don't. I want to do anything else. I want to work on like merch designs, do a new t-shirt. I want to do whatever, but that doesn't drive revenue, right? So, and knocking is just one example, but there's many things, right? Like I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get up and go to the gym at 4:30 every day. I really don't. So when all my friends are like, I don't know how you do that, I'm like, I just do it. I don't want to do it, but I do, right? Because I want to stay physically fit and I want to feel good, and it gives me a lot of self-confidence, staying consistent and being disciplined. But this morning, there was nothing sexy about how I got out of bed. I was like not feeling it at all, and I slammed some caffeine and drove my freaking like haggard self to the gym. And And that stuff I feel like is the separator between people that want to do it and they talk about doing it, and then others that do it. And it's not sexy, and not everybody wants to do it. And being honest, not everybody should. Like, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And I feel like we live in an age and time where Instagram is like honestly about as fake as it's ever been for a lot of things. And I feel like the narrative is if you don't own your own company, you're a loser. And it's like, well, okay, but not everybody should. And it's not bad to be an employee. It's not bad to find a good fit somewhere where it's like, oh, dude, this matches up with my values. This helps me reach my goals, whatever. I just feel like that basis is no one's coming to save you. So if you're not cool with like swimming on your own, then you should probably get in a boat that like matches what you believe in, and then row with everybody else instead of just doing it all. Because it's not fun some days, but it is rewarding overall. And that's like, I don't know, dude. I feel like just some people are down for it and others aren't. And that's the not sexy part that people will not talk about.
Yeah, man, and that's why I like this podcast, dude. I like to talk about like the real shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff that you actually
Totally.
go through. Like, dude, it hasn't been easy. It's been a grind. I have to do this consistently every single day to get to where I want to do. I got to go through the bullshit of opening my business, finding my this, studying this. And it's a lot that you have to do it every single day, even when you don't want to do it.
Yep.
And it's all about consistency. I tell. When I run my sales team and I talk to my guys and I talk to people, the only thing that separates the good from the best is consistency. Period. Anyone can do it once. Anyone can do it twice. Anyone can do it for a week. But can you do it week after week after week after week? And that's what will separate even the people that win sometimes from the champions.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I feel like it's a discipline thing. It's not a motivation thing. And I talk about this a lot now because I feel like I've heard it from everybody, from Tim Grover, from, all these big guys that they all have the same thing in common. They're winners. And all they talk about is discipline. It's not about motivation because motivation comes and goes. It's like waves. So it could be high in about an hour for me because I'm feeling like I'm riding high. And then at 2 p.m. it could be gone. But it doesn't matter because you still got to be like this. Right? Like you're saying, you just have to be consistent and disciplined, and motivation comes and goes. Yeah. So you got to ride that wave when it's there.
Yeah, man. I tell everyone motivation's fake. It's like a sugar high. You know what I'm saying? You get that sugar high, but it's gonna go away, dude. You gotta have that caffeine, but you still gotta knock that door when you don't have no caffeine in you.
Totally.
Like, bro, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we tell our guys? Is fuck your feelings. Your feelings don't matter in this. Like, you have to get a result that you're looking for. Like, unfortunately, feelings don't pay my payroll. Unfortunately, feelings don't get me a new truck and a new technician.
Right.
And it's the reality and the harshness of it. People are going to be like, oh, well, my feelings matter. And I'm like, yeah, your feelings matter in a certain extent. But when it comes down to business and your bills and your success, feelings don't matter. Like, I ran a 10K on Saturday with my business partner, Rob. He's like, yo, you want to do this race with me? So I was like, dude, anytime someone asks me, I can't. I'm not gonna bitch out. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'll do it. So I've been lifting like crazy. And 2 weeks ago, I texted him. I was like, yo, bro, when's our race? And he's like, oh, it's in 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, damn, dude, I better get my fat ass running, right? So I start running and running and running. And dude, I had 2 weeks. And I mean, I ran a little bit, still lifting everything like that. But I was like, hey, I'm gonna run it in an hour. I'm gonna run it in an hour. So I get there, dude. I weigh 230 right now. Like, I've been lifting like crazy. And I'm like, all right, bro. So we start out on this race. And it's just me. No headphones, no music, no phone, no nothing. Just me. And I'm running. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I pushed myself. And the last like mile, I ran even faster. And I hit my goal 1 hour exactly. And you know what I'm saying, bro? It's just like, it didn't matter how I felt. Because to be honest, if you ask how I felt like shit. I felt fat. I felt out of shape, but I'm like, you know what? We're gonna do this. And so it's just about getting to it and saying, look, I got a job to do. and I'm going to get it done, and we're going to freaking come out on top.
Yeah, I love that. That's the key right there.
So my infamous and famous question, that is, if Billy Wright was to die today, if you were to leave this world behind today, what would be your last advice to the world, to somebody, to other entrepreneurs, to people that are dreamers, like us?
That's a good question. If I was going to die today, what would be my advice for everybody? Honestly, I feel like my advice would be like, focus on stuff that matters, right? Even in entrepreneurship and stuff, money's nothing. Money's not a thing. Everybody gets so focused on like, oh, I want to be a multi-bajillionaire. Like, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you treat people. And ultimately, I base myself in that belief because of what I think. I don't think we die and we're done here. There's more to come. There's a whole nother existence, life, everything. And so I think it's good to have a perspective that's beyond today. So it's important to, and I try my best. I'm definitely not perfect, but I try to just treat everybody the best I can in every setting. So even if it requires me to take the short end of the stick because, Susie wants to cancel because she didn't get her appointment reminder that I know she for sure got because my system says it right here, I'm just going to go ahead and give her the benefit of the doubt and say no worries, because it really doesn't matter. And I'm not going to fight with someone over stuff that's not long term. So that's probably my life advice. I feel like that's served me the best in my whole life. That's why I have friends like you and other people that I can count on, is just because I try my best to just treat people right. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. Relationships are everything. I feel like I don't really have friends. I have family, and that's it right now. Because the road to the top is lonely, dude. I don't talk to a lot of people. I don't text a lot of people. I don't go out that much. I do the same shit every day. But what I do have is family. My relationship with you, I value, man. I value our phone calls, our texts. Like, every time I see your name calling, I'm always pumped because you and I started similarly. You know what I'm saying? Like, we started
Right.
out, and like our business models and plans are different, but one is not better than the other. And that's my biggest thing, bro, is I respect what you're doing and what I'm doing. Like, I'm pumped because I get to talk to you. How's your business going? See how things are going. And dude, number one thing is I value our relationship more than anything.
Well, dude, me too. Thank you. I appreciate you, and it's nice staying in touch. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, will do, brother.